then your boy, whenever she got silver, he turns around and he sees me. He goes, "She just got silver."
Welcome, everybody, to Raising an Archer. This is Scott and Wendi,
Hello.
and we've had a very busy couple weeks.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be slowing down either.
And we're trying to get as much information out there as we can. And Wendi was at Gator Cup. I was at Collegiate Nationals. We kind of wanted to talk about the comparison between the two because I've been to both now, so I know what that atmosphere is.
Right. I haven't been. So
Yeah.
I've been to Gator Cup. This is my second year, but I have not been to Collegiate.
So the one huge difference between Collegiate and Gator Cup would be, or USAT, there's hardly any real adults there. they're all college students, the majority of them. So you went to Gator Cup, just came back from the 2023 Gator Cup.
Yep.
And so
In
what was
Newberry, Florida?
Yeah. So what was the experience? How did it compare from the year before? Was there rain? Was there wind?
It was awesome. There was no rain except at nighttime. And so no one was shooting at nighttime. So we had no rain delays. We had no heat delays. We had no delays. Of course, on the 70, you're going to have some wind because it would hit midway.
Yeah.
From one end to the other. So people really had to pay attention to the windsocks. That's the first time, normally people pay attention to the flags. That was the first time that I really heard archers say and coaches say, pay attention to that windsock. Don't even look at the flags.
Yeah. And it's funny that you mentioned the flags because they were talking about at Collegiate Nationals too, was look at the windsocks, don't look at the flags because the flags really didn't paint the right picture.
Right. And
They're
that's just right there at the bail.
They're almost too small to do anything.
And by that time, in my mind, once it's gotten that far, it's already hitting the bail. So I'm not real sure that part is going to do too much. But halfway down the field, 35 meters down the field, I'm pretty sure that's going to do something to an arrow.
Right. And I know that Gator Cup's not quite like Arizona Cup when it comes to the wind because it's like right up against that. I'm going to call it a mountain hill or whatever that is.
In Arizona,
Yeah.
yes.
And so you get these kind of swirling.
Yeah, you did have the swirly winds. Not to mention the big dust devils that come through like mini tornadoes.
Yeah. And take papers way up into the air.
Tents, everything.
Yeah, Mandy, one of the judges during the actual eliminations, one of those dirt devils comes through, and all of a sudden you see all these papers go up in the air.
Yes, brackets.
Brackets. It turns out it was all of her brackets that flew up into the air.
That was terrible. So no, we didn't have that at Gator.
So first day was practice. We had talked about the price of practice. Practice at Arizona was $15. Do you know what it was? Was it the $30?
I want to say it was $30.
It was $30.
We were not there for the unofficial practice day, so I didn't hear anybody complaining about that. I just know the 30 from the year before, and Ryan came in 2 hours after us. Julia's bow didn't make it until 2 hours.
And where did you guys fly into?
We flew into Jacksonville, Florida. So it was an hour and a half away. It wasn't too bad at all. But so we didn't make it for
Wendy's
the unofficial.
worst nightmare happened.
Right. Julia's bow did not make it on the plane.
And she was... Were you panicking?
I was panicking on the inside. I was trying to stay calm. On the outside, I could see Julia was about to lose it. Her lips were quivering, and she had tears coming up in her eyes. So I had to stay calm because
you had to be the tough one.
It was just she and I. And I remember you going, "Are you being Mama Bear right now?" And I said, "No." I knew it wasn't the lady's fault that was there at the baggage counter, and so.
Hey, but you got a voucher out of the deal.
I got
That's
a
awesome.
$200 voucher, and the bow made it there intact.
Did you get the voucher because you waited, or was it because...
Yes.
Okay.
So they would have had somebody deliver it to the hotel, but since we picked it up, we got the $200 voucher. And we already had to wait. We were waiting 2 hours for Ryan, and then we just went and ate once we got Ryan. And while we were eating, I got the message that it had made it to Jacksonville. So once we got done eating, I parked outside. Ryan and Julia went inside, got the bow, came back, We were on our way, and we had a $200 voucher.
No reason to panic.
Right. Well, it was still a reason to panic. I mean, to top it off, their computer system went down. So she had no way to write up a claim other than to handwrite it. She couldn't tell at that time if the bow actually made it on another plane. And that plane was going to Nashville. When she found, I was like, that's not where.
Kind of going the wrong direction.
So even whenever I was on the phone and they were like, okay, so it has been put on another plane. It's going to Nashville. I'm like, Nashville. And Julia again starts to get visibly upset. And they're like, okay, but it's going to go from Nashville to Jacksonville. Okay, now can you tell me when?
And I got to tell you, the best thing I've purchased is those little air tags.
I think we need to do that.
And they work really well. I'm like with Ryan's stuff, when we got to Houston and we're just like, where is it? I pull it up and it actually shows it still on the runway. And then all of a sudden you see it moving toward us.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, here it comes.
Yeah.
And sure enough, we knew it was there at that point.
Right.
You would have known at that point it was not there.
Right. But I don't know if that would have been a good thing, because me on an airplane going for 2 hours, seeing that it never got on a plane, I don't know if that would have been a good thing either.
Yeah, I don't even check to see if it got on the plane. I just check when I get there.
But Royce came up to us this Saturday. So we were at another tournament, and he goes, you know what? Maybe Julia's bow needs to get left at different times.
But what a great experience for Julia at Gator Cup.
Yeah.
She's been struggling a little bit, and so she comes in, shoots her qualifier. Scores weren't stellar, but they weren't bad.
She's still struggling. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think she was in what 12th? No, what place?
11th?
11th place, right around there.
10th or 11th.
But this is the cool part about USAT. You go into eliminations.
Yep.
It's a clean slate, and then you start your shoot-offs.
Yep.
And Julia had a great run going.
Yeah, she did.
Ryan did very well too. Ryan made it to the Final Four. Just couldn't get a win there at the Final Four, but that's okay. That was Ryan's highest ranking finish. But Julia ends up winning and going into the gold medal match.
Yeah.
And I know you have no idea what's going on.
I had no idea. I'm down on the 70. Actually, I was on 50 with bare bow. I finished my field. 70 still had ties going on, so I went to help them because they had multiple ties that they were going on at the same time, and finished those. And I'm still hanging out to see if anyone else needs any help. And you text, and you're like, she's in the Final Four. And I'm like, what? And so I start to look it up, and I'm like, no. And so I start to text you, and even then I'm like, no. So I call you, and I'm like, I don't know if I should go down there.
You called me after I said she went to the finals. She's going into the gold medal match.
Yeah, but I didn't know it at that point. I hadn't gotten your text. I think I got your text while I was on the phone. And I'm like, do I go down there? Do I, what if I jinx her? She got all this way by herself.
Jinx her. I was like, go.
Yeah. So I did. And your boy surprised me. He was happy. Not surprised me the way that he was happy for her, but to see joy on his face for a teammate, he was smiling. And so I stood back because I really didn't want to put pressure on her. And so she did see me in the crowd and gave me a thumbs up, had a smile and everything. So I just stayed behind the VIP area, it's got that white picket fence. I stayed behind there, even though as a judge, I could have gone up there, but I'm like, nope, I didn't want to put that pressure on her. And then your boy, whenever she got silver, he turns around and he sees me. He goes, she just got silver. I was like, I know. He's like, where you been? I've been back here.
Hiding out over here.
Hiding out. So
the wind wasn't bad. The rain wasn't bad.
No.
So that was a good Gator Cup.
The worst part about the rain is the next morning we come back and almost all the lines were washed off the field.
Oh, really?
That was probably the worst part. But other than that, and that was down on the 70. So I don't know if that was on all the fields, but down on the 70, a lot of the dirt had washed over the lines.
Oh,
And
yeah, yeah.
but no mud. I mean, it just like soaked it up. The wind was not terrible. It would kick up every once in a while and recurves, and Barebow didn't like that so much. And I mean, I understand that, but
Yeah, they changed the format a little bit like they did for Arizona Cup. It was adult shot on Friday, and then they had the eliminations on Saturday, and then Saturday afternoon, the youth shot their qualifiers,
yeah.
and then shot eliminations on Sunday.
I don't know how most people like that. I didn't find anything wrong with that. It seemed to go smoothly. So I didn't hear yays or nays on how people liked it, but
I think it's great when you look at the, especially for Arizona Cup and Florida, kids are still in school.
yes.
And so when you have the archers shooting on Friday and Saturday, they have to be there Thursday.
yeah.
In this case, they don't have to. They can come in
Yes.
Friday, and they could miss very little
See,
school.
and I missed that part of looking at it that way because being a judge, I still had to be there. But had it been that I was just going as a spectator, as a parent, yes, that would have made a big difference with us because, I've said it many times before, we go into truancy because of missing 4 tournaments. But yeah, that would have made a difference.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty cool.
So Ryan, Gator Cup finishes.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan stays there in Newberry for Gainesville, I guess is where they were staying.
Yep.
And they stayed for, I guess he stayed for
We dropped
until
him off
Wednesday.
on Sunday. I
so,
think they left for Georgia on Wednesday.
yeah, several of the Aggies stayed behind, and then they ended up going up there and shooting at, practicing at Newberry
Yeah.
as well. On Wednesday, they drove to Statesboro, Georgia, for Collegiate Nationals, and then that's when I flew in. I flew into Atlanta, and then drove there. It was probably about 3.5 hours to get there. That was really one of the most fun archery events I've been to, and it was, I knew that everybody's saying, "Oh, it's so much fun," but you wonder, what does that even mean? Why is it fun? Well, it's fun because there's so much team spirit there that you don't get anywhere else.
All the dress up days, they're hilarious.
You've got, the Aggies have their own chants, on everything. That's a fighting Texas Aggie 10, and and they're just, it is just going on everywhere. And the other thing that was really interesting, and I heard from the other judges that they've never seen this, it's basically one big field from one end to the other. So there was like 112 targets.
I saw that it was in miles. How
It's
long?
like a quarter mile
yes.
long. From one end to the other was like
Yeah.
a quarter mile.
That's pretty cool.
And it's kind of weird to look at it because it's like you look to the left and there's way targets to the left, and you look to the right, way targets to the right.
The panoramic view was awesome. It almost looked like the fishbowl kind of effect to get it all in there.
And so you would think, okay, that's pretty cool. But from an administrative side of it, it was, as from judges, there was a challenge. One of them is that clocks are all on the same frequency. So when you're at like Gator Cup, there's a main field and an east field.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they're far enough apart that those clocks don't interfere with each other. Mm-hmm. When you're in a big long line,
they have to use 2 different systems for that.
No, they don't have it. They don't have a system.
No. I'm talking about Gator Cup.
Oh yeah, you're right. Gator Cup has 2 different systems. Arizona, so they if you want to use those, my mind just went blank on the brand.
Oh, I know.
They're all on one frequency. So
and we've been told the 2 different ones.
Yeah.
But
So what they had to do is, I was on, I guess, the West Field.
I want to say like Deja or something like that.
No,
it's
it's
the
not.
name of one of them.
And I don't know. I can't remember it.
We're probably so far off base.
Yeah. So what they had to do is like we would say our field's clear, and then we would take a green flag and put it up, and then the other field would start the clock for the entire field. So we ran the entire field at the exact
That's
same
crazy.
time. So they were running like 17-minute ends because of that. Because it's like you had to wait for everybody to be done.
Yeah.
Then you would start.
Wow.
We had recurve on one end.
Seems like that would make for a very long day.
It was. Once that was done, so you have your qualifiers. It's just a 1-day qualifier. And they had all kinds of events for these athletes too. They had team dinners. They had
Oh, that's cool.
and then they had on Saturday night, I think it was Saturday night, they had a big cookout for all the archers to hang out with cornhole and all that stuff. So they seemed to have a really good time. But when you got to the eliminations, that was a lot of fun. Team rounds was probably the most fun because that's when they all dress up. So for Texas A&M, they had
Hula
the Bear Bows.
skirts.
Yeah, Bear Bows had the hula skirts. They had
The salmon-colored shorts.
Yep. The Compounders had their shorts. The Fix Pins had their outfit. They had, and even all the other colleges did. A lot of them did the same thing. They all had these special outfits that they put together for the event, which made it a lot of fun because then they would all come over and you'd have, as the team events are going on, they have big crowds behind them. And they are just hooting and hollering and making all kinds of noise and fun. And then when you go to the gold medal match, which is live, I don't think you can hear as much as what's going on because there's behind the crowd. When we shoot at a USAT, gold medal match,
It's quiet.
It's kind of quiet.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of people there. Well, that's not the case at Collegiate Nationals. There are probably
opposite.
about 30 of their closest teammates. They seem like they are screaming. And A&M, they have all their chants. And so they've got like a leader out there starting the chants. And it was really something to watch because it was just, it changed the whole atmosphere and the excitement behind it. Every time somebody shoot a big, 10, they would just all go crazy. And then even the other teams are chanting and when their archers up shooting. And it was a lot of fun. But the team event probably was the funniest because they just constantly were having big groups and cheering for that. So Collegiate Nationals again. They filled up that town. It's only at that location once, and then it moves on.
Really?
Yeah, so it moves on. So last year it was in California. This year it was on the East Coast.
Yeah.
Next year supposedly it'll start moving its way back to California. So it'll be up north in the middle somewhere, and so it kind of moves that way. I don't know. I haven't heard where it would be, but that's how Collegiate Nationals works. And now, I guess the next one is SoCal.
Oh.
SoCal, but we're not
that's right,
going.
SoCal's.
We're not going to SoCal,
No.
and that'll be the only one that we haven't been to at the end of this season, more than likely.
Yep.
Unless something comes up,
Unless something happens. Yeah.
which could always happen.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
So we wanted to give you guys just a quick little overview of what was going on with Gator Cup. We tried to do a podcast.
Oh my word, yes! But
while
it was
you were
so
there.
late at night. I was like, nope, I can't. And you kept, oh come on, it'd be fun. I'm like, no,
I'm tired.
Scott, I am so tired, and I have to be on the field at 7:00 in the morning. No, I wanted to. I really thought it. That really would have been cool, but I just couldn't make it happen and function.
Yeah, and I don't think it would have worked either because I was driving at that point.
You were driving, yes, yeah,
And so it would have been later than that even for us to do our podcast.
yeah.
I think our plan is to give, to try to add more to our podcast, giving you guys more information.
Yep.
We're going to come up with, Wendi and I have been brainstorming on how do we get you guys the information like real time.
Right.
So when we're at these events, that we're able to record and give you what was the experience for that day and what to expect the next day. So if you're there, you can listen and go, oh,
Right.
I know exactly what's going to happen. When we were at Joad Nationals last year, one thing that I thought was very valuable is that each day we would do a podcast and it would explain, hey, this is what happened today, just so everybody knew.
Yep.
What happens
We had
tomorrow.
a 3-hour heat delay.
Yeah. Well, we explained what happens, at what temperature do they shut down
Right.
the shoot? Because
Index of 115.
Yeah, and that was the Well, what is it? It's 106, 105, but it hit an index of 115.
It's a heat index of 115, so
Is that
the
what it
real
was?
temperature
It
could
doesn't
be.
matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. And it was a real possibility. It happened.
It did happen.
And it was delayed for hours.
Yes. Yes.
So we're going to see what we can do to try to get you guys that information as fast as we can.
Right.
And that's something that's going to be coming.
Yes. I mean, we've experienced rain delays before, but a heat delay, that was a first for me.
Yes, it was. It was a whole different experience. Well, thank you guys for listening in, and we will see you guys at the next target.
And that is it for this episode of Raising an Archer.